What's up, Brand Builder? I'm Bonigala, and welcome to another episode of the Brand Builder Show. In this episode, do your customers really like your brand? What kind of attitude do your customers have towards your brand? Do they like your brand or dislike it? Now, of course, one could argue that if people are buying from you, they should like your brand. But in reality, this is far from the truth. For most businesses, customers actually do not like their brand and have a distaste, and yet continue to buy because of various factors such as convenience, lack of options, and so on. From time to time, as a responsible brand evangelist, you should attempt to find out the status of the attitude of your customers. A status check will enable you to see potential disasters. A negative brand attitude foreshadows an impending brand disaster. I know, lots of big words, but a positive brand attitude results from a variety of contributing factors. Now, these days, the actual quality of the products or service or specific features actually sit at the bottom of that list. Quality of product or service is on the rise due to fierce competition. So customers come to expect quality by default. What they're looking for is a luxury experience, an experience that goes beyond quality. Now, humans are highly emotional creatures, and our interaction with products and services and brands is strife with emotion. We judge based on our emotions, not merely facts. This does not only apply to luxury products or services. This actually applies to all forms of businesses and all market segments. So let's look at some examples. Okay, the first one is the case of my local butcher. Now, most of the people visiting the shop do not actually like the experience, but they do continue to turn up and buy from the same butcher, even though they're not happy about it. Now, so when I thought about it, I was surprised because the quality of the meat was actually quite high and the price is quite reasonable. So I started to analyze the situation and realized that the owner at the front would constantly yell to the back where there were, 3 or 4 people actually doing the actual work. This was a very jarring experience. I could see that most people were visibly sort of uneasy with the yelling. So when the local grocer opened a meat counter, people switched in a heartbeat, even though the meat at the local grocer was not as good and actually more expensive than with the butcher. Within weeks, the main butcher's customers dried up, and believe it or not, they had to shut down in a few short months. Now, this may seem like an obvious or a kind of a one-off situation, but you'd be surprised. Next, let's look at the case of the lazy salesperson. So this example again proves my point that of a popular clothing retailer at the local mall. We used to frequent their store to buy clothes for my 2 daughters. Now, for years, we just bought at that store. The clothes were stylish and our kids loved them. But then one day, there was a change. The store manager decided to implement some kind of cost-cutting measures, and his first step was to fire some key employees and replace them with novice apprentices. Now, our shopping experience was totally different. Nothing much had changed in terms of the store layout or the clothes or even the prices. Well, slightly, but somehow we came away with a feeling, little frustrated or unhappy. The cause was the new salespeople who were mostly lazy and did not bother to give us a good service. Now, I have nothing against apprentices. I'm just talking about the level of customer service. And this is what happens in businesses with employees. If your employees are not trained properly and not educated in the importance of the lifetime value of a customer, then they would not really care or would not know how to treat customers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming the apprentices entirely, nor am I suggesting that apprentices do not do well. In fact, Every single apprentice we have hired at Spellbrand became superstars and contributed to the success of our agency. Next, let's look at another story. This time it was a teller at my local bank. By this time, you may be wondering that I'm probably the fussiest person on this planet and that I would get upset with every little thing, etc. Quite the contrary. It is just that I analyze these experiences and try to get to the root cause and just making this video for them. The next experience relates to how employees could be having some personal issues or problems at work, either with their boss or coworker, and decided to bear it all to the public. They believe that the customer who witnesses an outburst of dissatisfaction and would empathize with them. This is hardly ever the case. 9 out of 10 times customers get turned off by this, and this creates a negative brand attitude. Never share your business issues, how hard you have to work, or how difficult it is to maybe get some resources, or how difficult it is to hire employees, or how you're overwhelmed with a lot of orders. And no, your customers are not interested in all that bullshit. They don't want to hear your problems. They don't want to hear your struggles. No. So leave those at the door. Leave those behind the scenes. Talk to your employees about them maybe, or family and friends, but not your customers. So never sort of communicate the struggles of your business to your customers. Next, keep your eye on the ball. In your business, always make sure to keep your eye on the attitude ball. Gauge how your customers' emotions are stacking up. This is a fundamental disconnect between the emotional needs of the customers and yourself or your staff. As humans, we are wired not to be nice or to care about others. A harsh statement, but it is the truth. So a lot of the subconscious effort is required to raise above the natural instinct and be nice to your customers, to empathize with them, to be in their shoes and truly love them. So set up processes that would help you keep your finger on the customer's pulse. Set up surveys at critical touch points so customers can give anonymous kind of feedback. This would be hugely beneficial. If you make the survey anonymous, you will have a lot of transparency. Every once in a while, think of ways you can show your customers you appreciate them. If your customer base comes back to you time and again, then give them loyalty rewards. If your service or product is usually a one-off, then end the transaction with a surprising kind of twist that would delight the customers. Invest back into being generous with your brand. Engage with your local or national charities and contribute what you can. Do not make this into a big PR kind of a thing. Instead, do it genuinely, and rewards will be manifold. Invest in training your employees to fall in love with your customers and to empathize with them. I hope you found this episode useful. If you have any questions about this topic, please hit me up on Twitter. My handle is @Bonigala. Or leave comments below this video and I will surely respond. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel. Till the next video, take care.